Hey, backers. Mizungu here, Kieran, with a look back on Gameweek 36 for you. I'm going to start off with Aguero, who I appreciate, even if it seems writers and players alike don't. 4 years he's been here now. He's the most prolific scorer in Premier League history per minute. He's never received an award. People he's lost out to include Kyle Walker and Clint Dempsey. There you go. Anyway, he helped me to a couple of victories in head-to-heads where my opponents had maybe taken Sanchez or Hazard or both. And I guess that's the beauty of testing budgets. Talk a little bit about budgets. On providers like Mondigo, it's very difficult to get Hazard and Aguero into your side, and rightly so. Perhaps it's a rare criticism of others where it's not as difficult. There are some games obviously where you can pick the team you pretty much want, which is fine. There are pros and cons for each approach, and perhaps there's enough room in the market to establish and sustain both, assuming the daily fantasy play will eventually take root in the UK. Mondigo will definitely suit the more strategic player who likes to battle with the difficult choices, pour over stats, have a debate internally before making their selection. And if they're anything like me, wake up on a Saturday morning, look at their team and think, why did I pick him? And start all over again. Whereas others, I think we can fairly say, play on, Wolfbet, Fanager. It's not quite the test. And as I say, that's fine. And that'll suit a more casual manager who perhaps has an idea of his team in his head, just wants to go onto a website, make the selections as easy as possible. There are other elements of playing those sites which might put me off, particularly Wolfbet and Fanager around the selection of captain, which for me, is it's not ideal. You could pick 10 good performers each week, lose to a manager who picked 4 just because they got the selection of captain right. I think the captain offer is a legacy of the season-long game. Basically, providers wanted you to keep coming back to them once you pick your team. It was a way of getting traffic back. I'm not sure whether it has a value in daily fantasy play. Not with the, particularly in those sort of high-stakes games. It's too arbitrary a factor and it has too significant an impact on the results. Anyway, getting back to the game, City and Aguero, his partner in crime, David Silva, also delivered big time in game week 36. It was difficult to predict which QPR would turn up for this one. Well, in retrospect, it isn't difficult, but before the game, you didn't know whether the whole Ferdinand thing, that tragedy may have motivated the players more, and plus, they were looking at relegation, but it didn't work for whatever reason. It was the QPR that we've seen all season, pretty much away from home, that turned up and they got battered. They face an equally desperate Newcastle in game week 37, and you would hope they'll be hoping to restore some pride. Newcastle have ended their own terrible run of losses with a point against West Brom. But their away form is as bad as QPR's. So players like Austin and Fair might be worth a look this weekend. Other players sneaking up on the fantasy radar include, I can't believe I'm going to say this, Tom Cleverley, former object of derision. He has 3 goals in 3 games. He may have found his feet at last, but for me, it's still a little early. He scored 10 points because of those goals in each of his last 3 appearances on Mondigo. But on closer inspection, those goals have come from 5 shots. And prior to that, he has gone weeks without any shots on target, at least. Similarly, Riyad Mahrez, he's been a popular play all season long. On certain formats, such as DraftKings, he has delivered, but on the traditional formats, the UK games, he struggled. But he got a couple of goals. But again, if you look at his performances, he manages a couple of shots a month. Will he replicate it? He's got a more favourable fixture. Cleverly's at home, away at Southampton, so you can't see Villa scoring a lot of goals there. But Mahrez away at Sunderland. Could still be a close encounter, that one, but I'd say he's more likely to grab a goal than Cleverley at Southampton. There, I said it. If you're looking for more repeatable form, you need to analyse the data. And a perfect example of this is recent form of Charlie Adam. I mean, even before his point explosion over the last few weeks, he was having shots, 2 or 3 a game. So, the goals are much more likely to reoccur. He's next away at Burnley, and he's going to be a good play this weekend. He's a distance shooter. He likes having a pop from outside the box, and the tight confines of Turf Moor will put him in those positions a lot more. It's a good venue for him. He's going to go down, though, he won't be too popular being an ex-Blackpool player in that neck of the woods. He's not going to be up. He's going to get some stick off the Burnley fans, I'd imagine. But in terms of fantasy perspective, he's under 10 million roughly on Monday-goal. He still represents good value this weekend. Defensively, looking back on game week 36, 7 teams kept clean sheets, so there was value to be had there, especially Swansea at Arsenal. If you took a punt on Fabianski, I doubt many did. He got 17 points. Kolarov delivered again for City, and away at Swansea, a lot of managers might be opting for him again. I'm not so sure he'll play. Clichy's fit again. Swansea are pacey on the flanks, and Pellegrini may decide that Kolarov isn't a good fit. Although I think he scored there last year, so you don't know. But it's a risk, and without late swap, our usual bugbear, you could pay the penalty. Looking forward to other fixtures in game week 37. It's tougher when you reach this stage of the season. Fixtures that you'd normally look at and think, yeah, that's a banker. It depends on the motivations of the teams. I mean, some teams really have not a lot to play for. I mean, take Spurs at home to Hull. Apart from the fact Spurs are on a pretty poor run at the moment, they've got nothing to play for, really. Whereas Hull, their future in the Premier League is at stake. Normally, you'd put Kane and Eriksen in with a lot of confidence. I'm not so sure with this one. Plus the fact Kane's actually only scored 1 in his last 5. So I'll be trying to steer clear of teams who on paper should win, but who might not have as much riding on the game as the opposition. That's basically it. We'll be building up to game week 37. Don't forget, there's Champions League games. Devo, my colleague's already got an article up on the website if you fancy a punt on either night. We'll have injury analysis from the guru Ben Dinnery, and then we'll have the press conference news on Friday, the all-important injury news with plus our own tips for who you might want to select for the weekend. So that's it from me. Enjoy the rest of your week, and see you next time.